Good morning. Today is Wednesday, May 3rd, and this is Devotions from St. Paul Evangelical Lutheran Church in Carlisle, Pennsylvania. I'm going to take a passage today from Matthew's Gospel. And in this passage, Jesus is on his way to Jerusalem shortly before his crucifixion, and he has a couple of incidents that go on in this, one of which talks about being a servant. And that's what I want to highlight today. So this is from chapter 20 of Matthew's Gospel. While Jesus was going up to Jerusalem, he took the 12 disciples aside by themselves, and he said to them, "See, we are going up to Jerusalem, and the Son of Man will be handed over to the chief priests and the scribes, and they will condemn him to death. Then they will hand him over to the Gentiles to be mocked and flogged and crucified, and on the third day he will be raised." Then the mother of the sons of Zebedee came to him with her sons, and kneeling before him, she asked a favor of him. And Jesus said to her, "What do you want?" And she said to him, "Declare that these two sons of mine will sit at your right hand and at your left hand in your kingdom." But Jesus answered, "You do not know what you are asking. Are you able to drink the cup that I am about to drink?" They said to him, "We are able." Jesus said to them, "You are indeed able to drink the cup that I will drink, but to sit at my right hand and at my left, this is not mine to grant, but it is for those for whom it has been prepared by my Father." When the 10 heard about it, they were angry with both the two brothers. But Jesus called them to himself, and he said, "You know that the rulers of the Gentiles lord it over them, and their great ones are tyrants over them. It will not be so among you. But whoever wishes to be great among you must be your servant, and whoever wishes to be first among you must be your slave. Just as the Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve, and to give his life a ransom for many." Jesus starts out by telling the disciples that they are on their way to Jerusalem, and there he will be crucified. And when he gets to the parts near the end, when he talks about service, we need to come back to this idea, because that crucifixion was the greatest act of service ever done in this world. But let's go on beyond. Jesus talked about being a servant and to the extent of being a slave. And he says, you must serve each other. And don't worry about whether you're first or last to other. Worry about whether you are of service. And kind of ended that with saying, I came to serve others, not to be served myself. Jesus said that to the disciples. Not too far along in the history, Jesus will come to the Last Supper. And one of the things that he will do at that supper is he will wash the disciples' feet. Now, in those days, with dirt roads and sandals on their feet, people came to other people's homes and their feet were often very dirty. And it was considered in polite society that they offer their guests the idea of washing their feet. And so the act of washing their feet by itself was not that special. But what was very special was that Jesus did it. It was normally an act done by a slave in the house or a servant in the house, and not by the master, not by the teacher, not by the rabbi. So Jesus set the example there. Do the service. Help other people. Don't worry about your position in anything, but help other people. Do things for other people. And I think with Jesus' example of washing feet, it's all the time. It's all the little things. It isn't just the things that we do at church, though those are important. But it's whenever we meet people, have the attitude of a servant. Now, if you take the middle part, where the mother of the sons of Zebedee, James and John's mother, asked Jesus that they sit at his right hand and his left hand, this is much more typical of us as humans. We want to be identified. We want to be recognized for all the things that we do, and held up and honored. And Jesus is saying those things are not important. What's important is what you do. Now, I do think it's significant that he told James and John that they would drink the same cup that he was going to drink. And he knew that he was on his way. He had just told the disciples he was on his way to his crucifixion. So it isn't the act itself, it's the attitude with which we do things. And we come back to the beginning of this passage, and Jesus says, we're going to Jerusalem where I will be crucified. Just think of the act of crucifixion. Who was crucified in those times? Well, Jesus was crucified with two robbers. People who, one of them said, deserved what they were getting in their crucifixion. So crucifixion was kept for those who were the worst offenders in society. But Jesus wasn't that. Jesus was there, and the only offense that he made was he told the truth to the scribes and the Pharisees and the chief priests and says, you're not taking care of my people. You're not teaching the right lessons. You're not showing the path to my Father's house. And he was challenging the powers that be in the Jewish society. But he caused no hurt. In fact, he cured many. He didn't upset the order. He just said, we have to do it this way because this is how my Father wants it. And yet he went willingly, without fighting, without cursing, without doing any of the things that normal people would do, and made that perfect sacrifice for you and for me. So we have great examples from Jesus, from the simple washing of feet to the great act of allowing himself to be crucified. And we need to take that and serve each other with the same idea, the same attitude that Jesus had. That's what Jesus calls us to do. And what's more is we need to do it without worrying about what we are going to get out of it ourselves. In today's society, that's a very hard task for us. We are taught from a very early age that we earn things, but that's not the way Jesus works. And it takes some work and thought and prayer. But the example of Jesus, service counts. Sacrifice for others counts. And the example of Jesus is without any kind of other act like it. We can't ever reach that, but we can try. Praise to Jesus for his crucifixion and his resurrection and his example to us. I hope you'll take these words and think about them yourselves, because I think Jesus speaks loudly in this passage. Thank you.